The royal world is in complete meltdown right now. Because just moments ago, Candace Owens reignited one of the most controversial debates surrounding Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, Archie, and Lilibet. And the reaction has been explosive. For years, rumors, speculation, and endless online discussions have surrounded the Sussex family. Most of those conversations eventually faded away. But this time is different. Because Candace Owens isn't simply repeating old claims. According to royal commentators, she's asking new questions and revisiting issues that many believed had already been buried. And the timing couldn't be worse for Harry and Meghan. Just as the couple continues trying to reshape their public image, a fresh wave of scrutiny is spreading across social media. Royal fans are debating. Critics are celebrating. Supporters are pushing back. And everyone seems to be talking about the same thing. What exactly did Candace Owens say? Why are her comments generating so much attention? And why are Archie and Lilibet once again at the center of a growing controversy? According to many royal watchers, the fallout has already begun. Because every time these claims resurface, they create another round of questions for Harry and Meghan. Questions about transparency. Questions about public trust. Questions about a story that continues dividing audiences years later. Meanwhile, social media has exploded with competing opinions. Some believe Owens is raising issues that deserve discussion. Others argue she is fueling speculation without evidence. But regardless of where people stand, one thing is undeniable. The conversation is growing louder by the hour. And according to royal insiders and commentators, Harry and Meghan are reportedly furious that the debate has returned to the headlines yet again. Because what started as a few comments has now become one of the most talked about royal stories online. And trust me, the details only get more dramatic from here. If there is one thing royal watchers have learned over the past few years, it's that certain Meghan Markle controversies never truly disappear. They fade. They leave the headlines. They move to the background. Then suddenly, someone brings them back into the spotlight. This time, that person is Candace Owens. And according to many royal commentators, her latest remarks have reopened one of the most controversial discussions involving Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, Archie, and Lilibet. What's making the situation so explosive isn't simply the claims themselves. It's the size of the audience hearing them. Candace Owens has built a massive platform. Millions of people follow her commentary. Millions more see clips of her discussions online. That means when she speaks about the royal family, the conversation spreads incredibly fast. That's exactly what happened here. Within hours, social media platforms were flooded with reactions. Supporters praised Owens for asking difficult questions. Critics accused her of amplifying speculation. Royal commentators immediately began dissecting every statement. And before long, the debate had become impossible to ignore. According to observers, Owens argued that there are still aspects of the Sussex story that many people feel remain unanswered. She suggested that public interest continues because some audiences are not satisfied with previous explanations. Whether people agree with her or not, those comments immediately triggered a fresh round of scrutiny. That's when the battle lines formed. One side argued that public figures naturally face public questions, especially when they have shared major parts of their lives with the media. The other side argued that certain topics have already been addressed repeatedly and should not continue being used to fuel speculation. The disagreement became intense. Very intense. Because discussions involving Archie and Lilibet often generate stronger emotions than almost any other royal topic. For supporters of Harry and Meghan, the children should be completely off limits. For critics, public curiosity remains inevitable because of the family's unique position in royal history. That's why the conversation spread so quickly. People weren't just debating Candace Owens. They were debating Harry and Meghan's entire public story. And according to many royal watchers, that's exactly what makes this controversy different from others. The discussion isn't centered on a new interview. It isn't centered on a new documentary. It's centered on old questions returning to the spotlight. Questions that have divided audiences for years. Meanwhile, another factor made the story even bigger. Timing. Harry and Meghan have spent years trying to move beyond constant royal drama. Yet every time progress seems possible, another controversy appears. Another debate emerges. Another headline dominates social media. According to commentators, that's why the latest remarks have attracted so much attention. Because they threatened to pull the Sussexes back into a discussion many believed was fading. And if the reaction online is any indication, that discussion isn't fading at all. In fact, it's growing. The more people talk about it, the larger it becomes. The larger it becomes, the more media attention it receives. And according to royal analysts, that cycle may be exactly what Harry and Meghan hope to avoid. Because once these debates start moving again, they become incredibly difficult to stop. And according to many observers, the next stage of the controversy could be even more explosive. Because attention is now turning toward how royal fans themselves are reacting. And those reactions are creating a storm of their own. If Candace Owens expected her comments to generate attention, she certainly got it. But what happened next may have surprised even seasoned royal commentators. Because within hours, royal fans split into completely opposing camps. And neither side appears willing to back down. On one side are people who believe questions should never be off limits when public figures voluntarily place parts of their lives in the spotlight. These supporters argue that public curiosity is a natural consequence of fame. They point out that Harry and Meghan have participated in major interviews, documentaries, books, podcasts, and public appearances discussing their personal experiences. From their perspective, public discussion comes with the territory. But on the other side are people who believe the latest controversy crosses a line. They argue that certain claims have never been supported by publicly verified evidence and should not continue being repeated. According to these supporters, the constant speculation serves no purpose except to fuel endless controversy. That's where the battle has intensified. Not over facts. Not over evidence. But over whether the discussion itself should even be happening. And according to royal observers, that may be why the reaction has become so emotional. Because both sides believe they are defending something important. One side believes it's about transparency and accountability. The other believes it's about fairness and privacy. When those two values collide, compromise becomes difficult. That's exactly what's happening now. Social media has become a battlefield. Every clip is analyzed. Every quote is debated. Every comment section turns into another argument. And the more attention the story receives, the more people become involved. What's especially interesting is how differently people interpret the exact same situation. Supporters of Candace Owens argue she's simply asking questions. Critics argue she's giving new life to old rumors. Supporters say public figures should expect scrutiny. Critics say scrutiny should be based on evidence, not speculation. The gap between those positions is enormous. And according to many royal watchers, that gap continues widening. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan remain at the center of it all. Whether they respond publicly or remain silent, their names dominate the headlines. That's the challenge of being among the most talked about figures in the world. Even when they aren't speaking, people are talking about them. Even when they aren't participating, they are still the story. According to some analysts, that's why these controversies never seem to disappear completely. The Sussexes generate enormous public interest. Supporters follow every development. Critics follow every development. The media follows every development. And as long as that remains true, debates like this will continue resurfacing. What makes the current situation particularly significant is that it arrives during a period when Harry and Meghan have been trying to focus attention elsewhere. Business projects, media ventures, future plans. Yet once again, the conversation has shifted back to controversy. And according to many observers, that may be the last thing they wanted. Because every time these debates return, they overshadow everything else. Suddenly, nobody is talking about future projects. Nobody is talking about new opportunities. Everyone is talking about the controversy. And according to royal commentators, the next phase may be even more challenging. Because attention is now shifting from Candace Owens' comments to a much bigger question. Why do these stories keep coming back? And why do they continue attracting so much attention years later? If there's one reason this controversy continues returning year after year, it's because the public keeps asking the same question. Not necessarily because new evidence appears. Not necessarily because new facts emerge. But because the story itself never seems to completely go away. And according to many royal commentators, that's the real challenge facing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle today. Every time they appear to move beyond one controversy, another version of the same debate resurfaces. A new commentator discusses it. A new interview references it. A new social media trend revives it. And suddenly, the conversation starts all over again. That's exactly what many observers believe happened after Candace Owens' latest remarks. The comments themselves may have been new. But the underlying discussion was familiar. Very familiar. For years, the Sussexes have been among the most polarizing figures in the royal family story. Supporters see them as victims of relentless scrutiny. Critics see them as public figures who frequently invite attention through interviews, books, and media projects. Because those perspectives are so different, almost every story involving Harry and Meghan immediately becomes controversial. People rarely agree on the facts. They rarely agree on the interpretation. And they almost never agree on what should happen next. That's why these debates keep returning. What's especially frustrating for the Sussexes, according to many commentators, is that the discussion often overshadows everything else they are trying to accomplish. Whenever a new project launches, controversy follows. Whenever a major appearance happens, controversy follows. Whenever they seem focused on the future, public attention gets pulled back to the past. That's the cycle many observers believe Harry and Meghan are struggling to break. And the longer it continues, the harder it becomes. Because eventually, public perception starts solidifying. People choose a side. Then they stay there. Supporters continue supporting. Critics continue criticizing. And very few minds actually change. According to royal analysts, that's one reason stories like this remain so powerful. They are no longer just stories. They are symbols. Symbols of a much larger debate about Harry, Meghan, the monarchy, the media, and public trust. That's why the reaction to Candace Owens has been so intense. People aren't simply reacting to one set of comments. They are reacting to years of accumulated opinions. Years of arguments. Years of headlines. Years of division. Meanwhile, another reality is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The internet never forgets. Old interviews remain online. Old articles remain searchable. Old rumors continue circulating. And every time a major public figure revisits those topics, millions of people are exposed to them all over again. According to many royal watchers, that's the biggest obstacle Harry and Meghan face. Not one specific controversy. Not one specific critic. But the fact that the conversation itself keeps restarting. No matter how much time passes. No matter how many new projects launch. No matter how many years go by. And according to some observers, that's why the current backlash has become so significant. Because it suggests the debate isn't fading. It's evolving. Growing. Finding new audiences. And that reality may be far more concerning than any single comment made by Candace Owens. Because the bigger question now isn't what she said. The bigger question is whether Harry and Meghan will ever fully escape the controversies that continue following them. And according to many commentators, the answer may determine the future of their public image for years to come. If there's one thing both supporters and critics of Harry and Meghan seem to agree on, it's this. The controversy isn't getting smaller. It's getting bigger. According to many royal commentators, that's what makes the latest Candace Owens discussion so significant. Because it demonstrates how quickly an old debate can suddenly become front-page news all over again. Years have passed. New stories have emerged. The royal family has changed dramatically. And yet certain controversies continue resurfacing, as if no time has passed at all. That's why critics believe the situation is becoming increasingly difficult for Harry and Meghan to manage. Not because they can control every headline. Nobody can. But because the conversation now extends far beyond traditional media. Social media. Podcasts. Independent commentators. YouTube channels. Online forums. The discussion is happening everywhere. And that makes it almost impossible to contain. In previous decades, controversial stories could eventually disappear from public view. Today, they can be revived with a single viral clip, a single interview, a single social media post. And that's exactly what many observers believe happened here. The moment Candace Owens revisited the topic, millions of people were suddenly discussing it again. Not because it was new. Because it was familiar. And familiarity often spreads faster than entirely new information. What's especially interesting is how quickly the discussion expanded beyond Owens herself. Within hours, other commentators joined in. Supporters responded. Critics responded. Royal experts responded. The story stopped being about one person. It became about the wider debate. That's why some analysts believe Harry and Meghan face a unique challenge. Many public figures deal with criticism. Many public figures deal with rumors. But very few generate the level of sustained interest that follows the Sussexes. Every controversy seems to have a longer lifespan. Every debate attracts a larger audience. Every disagreement becomes a major event. Supporters argue this proves Harry and Meghan remain incredibly relevant. Critics argue it proves the public still has unresolved concerns. Either way, the outcome is the same. The attention never fully disappears. Meanwhile, some royal watchers believe the couple's biggest obstacle is not the criticism itself. It's the repetition. The same themes keep returning. The same arguments keep resurfacing. The same controversies keep finding new audiences. And according to commentators, that cycle can be exhausting. Not just for Harry and Meghan. For the public as well. Yet despite that fatigue, people keep clicking. People keep watching. People keep debating. Which means the stories continue growing. That's the paradox many analysts point to. The audience often says it's tired of the controversy. Then immediately engages with the next controversy. As a result, the cycle continues. And according to critics, that's why the latest remarks have created such concern. Because they suggest that even after all these years, some debates remain powerful enough to dominate the conversation almost instantly. For Harry and Meghan, that creates a difficult reality. Every future project risks being overshadowed. Every new venture risks being interrupted. Every positive headline risks being replaced by another round of old questions. And according to some observers, that's exactly what appears to be happening now. The focus isn't on future plans. It's not on business ventures. It's not on upcoming projects. It's back on controversy. Back on division. Back on a debate that refuses to disappear. And according to many royal commentators, the next chapter may be the most important of all. Because the question is no longer whether the controversy exists. The question is whether Harry and Meghan can ever truly move beyond it. As the latest controversy continues spreading across social media, many royal commentators are asking a much bigger question. What happens next? Not next week. Not next month. But 5 years from now. 10 years from now. Because according to many observers, the real story isn't Candace Owens. The real story is what these recurring controversies mean for Harry and Meghan's long-term future. For years, the Sussexes have worked to build a life outside the traditional royal system. They've launched media projects, signed major business deals, created charitable initiatives, built brands around their own vision. Yet despite all those efforts, one challenge remains constant. The past keeps returning. Every time Harry and Meghan appear ready to focus entirely on the future, another debate emerges that pulls public attention backward. That's why some analysts believe reputation management has become one of their biggest obstacles. Not because people aren't interested in their projects. They clearly are. But because controversies often dominate the conversation before anything else can. Supporters argue this isn't fair. They believe Harry and Meghan face a level of scrutiny few public figures could ever withstand. They point out that critics often revisit old stories repeatedly while ignoring positive developments. From their perspective, the Sussexes are judged more harshly than almost anyone else in public life. Critics see things differently. They argue that public trust is earned over time. And once trust becomes a subject of debate, every future story gets examined more closely. That's why these controversies continue generating attention. People aren't just discussing one claim. They are discussing credibility, transparency, trust, and public perception. Those are much larger issues. According to royal commentators, that's why the latest debate could have consequences far beyond a few news cycles. Because perception tends to compound. Positive perceptions compound. Negative perceptions compound too. Every new controversy influences how future stories are received. Every future story influences how the public interprets the next one. And over time, those perceptions become difficult to change. That's the challenge many observers believe Harry and Meghan face today. Not one single controversy. Not one single critic. But an accumulation of controversies stretching across years. Meanwhile, another reality is becoming increasingly obvious. Archie and Lilibet are growing older. As they do, public curiosity is unlikely to disappear. In fact, many commentators believe it may increase. Questions about their future roles, their relationship with Britain, their connection to the royal family, their place in history. All of those discussions are likely to continue. That's why some analysts believe Harry and Meghan face a critical choice moving forward. Do they continue responding to controversies? Or do they focus entirely on building new chapters of their story? Neither option is easy. Both come with risks. And according to many royal watchers, that decision could shape how the next decade unfolds. Because ultimately, public figures aren't remembered solely for controversies. They are remembered for how they navigate them. That's why the stakes feel so high. The debate surrounding Candace Owens will eventually fade. The headlines will eventually change. The news cycle will eventually move on. But the larger questions about public trust, reputation, and perception will remain. And according to many commentators, those questions may prove far more important than any individual controversy. What do you think? Will controversies like this continue following Harry and Meghan for years to come? Or do you believe the Sussexes will eventually move beyond these debates completely? Do you think public opinion about Harry and Meghan is changing? Or has it already been decided? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news, celebrity updates, and breaking royal stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.